Hey everyone, it's another episode of Limitless MD. I'm your host, Vikram Raya, and today we're going to talk about frameworks part two. So the first framework we discussed was sort of the different levels of wealth. On the last episode, we went from 1 million to 10 million to 100 million to a billion. I think you're going to enjoy today's framework discussion. We're going to talk about a few interesting frameworks. I'll talk to you guys about really the 4 winning strategies that are needed in business. I'm going to talk to you about the PCR ratio. And I'm going to talk to you about a concept called JOMO, JOMO. And if we have time, we'll have a few more things that I'll throw in there. But let's get started.
What if you could reclaim hours of free time each week, create legacy building wealth, and devote more energy to your passion projects without giving up on your career as a life-saving MD? Dr. Vikram Raya is a functional cardiologist, high-performance coach, and real estate expert. Is here to give you the tools, strategies, and solutions you need to transform your life, unlock your limitless potential, and achieve greatness, all while freeing up your precious time. Welcome to Limitless MD. Let's dive in.
So what really a framework is, it's a mental model. It's a structure or repeatable system that helps you think clearly, make decisions faster, and solve problems more effectively. So the way I think about it is a shortcut for clarity. And so today we're going to continue our discussion on frameworks. And here's some 4 winning strategies for businesses on framework. And this is, again, taken from a lot of the mentors that I read or listen to or I've been part of. And so kudos to those guys. Number 1 is really speed, right? Humans are wired to value instant results. So the key really is to compress the time between, idea and execution, between someone ordering something and delivery, right? And the way to do that is you create templates, SOPs, systems in place. And this way you can increase availability. And remember, it rarely costs more to be faster. It just requires smarter processes. Amazon didn't become Amazon by having better products. They won by getting these products to you faster than anyone else thought possible, right? So speed is a competitive advantage. And really the humans and clients and avatars are all wired to value that instant result. So risk is the next category. Customers will pay premium prices for certainty, right? They want to focus on reliability, consistency, and smart guarantees. People always stick with the safe option, even when there are cheaper alternatives. Why? Because they want to reduce risk. And so if you can provide certainty, there's a premium for that certainty. And an example of this is really, in Priceline, where, there's a lot of risk because you're getting a cheaper flight, but you don't know when the flight is. You don't know how many stops it's going to be. You don't know what airline it is. That's very risky for a customer or client who needs certainty in their travel arrangements. While, booking, United Economy Plus, aisle seat, nonstop flight, that's higher cost, but we pay that for that premium because we've reduced the risk on that flight. And so that's how you could consider building that into your model, where you're not the cheapest around, but you create the most certainty of achieving an outcome, certainty that the process is going to be less friction, etc. Next one is price, right? Being cheap only works if that's your entire business model, right? But if you use AI, automation, offshoring to slash costs, you still need to maintain quality. And, this is where the challenge is, right? Like Temu and all these places overseas, they were not necessarily maintaining the quality. And the key really is, how do you scale profitably, right? And the way to do that is if you can figure out how to offer something and charge less, but still be profitable, that's the key, and deliver the same value. And so think Walmart, right? Walmart they figured out how to scale profitably by still charging less, but adding immense value, but they have margins. And if there's no margins, there's no magic. So you need to have margins. And the final one is ease, right? Reducing friction is important. You want to make it easy for them to do business with you. You want to also make the process of using your product or service easier, and you want them to, enjoy the outcome as well. And so it's hard to actually achieve easy. The way to do it is you reduce all the hardness along the way, right? Anything that sucks in your process, your product, or your service, you get rid of it. You eliminate the hardness one step at a time. And it's really like just a good design. It works, right? And the way is to reduce complexity, reduce obstacles and hurdles, and you consistently work on customer service and the customer journey. And remember, simplicity scales while complexity fails, right? You need to figure out how to simplify your process and be able to deliver it in an efficient manner. So if you choose one of these strategies, speed, risk, price, or ease, you will be able to dominate your competitors and you'll be able to increase your business. So think about that as you're thinking about what's your next innovation in your business. All right. So the next framework I want to teach you is the PCR framework, also known as the praise to criticism ratio. And this is really important for developing relationships and leadership. And the key really is it's optimizing how you balance positive reinforcement with constructive feedback. And there's a ratio that matters, right? The PCR formula is this: ideal performance to ratio is 5 to 1. 5 pieces of genuine praise, recognition, or appreciation to 1 piece of constructive feedback. And the ratios can vary. I've seen it as high as 7 to 1, as low as 4 to 1, depending on whether you're looking at the Gottman Institute for relationships or Harvard Business Review, and talking about the top teams. And so, what's the core principle here? Too much criticism, it kills your motivation, it breeds fear, and reduces creativity. Too much praise creates complacency and fulfillment. So, you want that right ratio. And this is where you engender trust, fuel growth, and you help them start to excel. So, how do you do this? Well, when you're doing the praise, you want to be very specific in the praise, and you want to give them the praise at the time that something is happening, right? So it's timely and it's very specific, and it also reinforces the behavior you want to repeat. And if it's not sincere, meaning it's like something they actually know that they did well, then you're just flattering. Flattery doesn't really get the trust that you're looking for. And then the criticism, that you really need to focus on the behavior, not the person, right? Instead of saying you're disorganized, hey, let's work on that summary. It needs to be tightened up a little bit, right? And then ask before telling. So asking for, hey, do you mind if I can coach you up on something? Or hey, would you like some feedback on that one particular thing? That way, they're a collaborator on the constructive feedback versus a victim of the critique. And you need to pair every criticism with a way to improve it in the future, a growth path, if you will. Hey, here's how I would fix that if I were you. And then reinforce immediately. Don't wait. The key is, do this at the moment, right? Praise publicly, correct privately. Remember that. Praise publicly and correct privately. Again, micro moments. It doesn't have to be like overt praise. You can just say, applaud, a hand on the shoulder, a thumbs up. All of that is part of the praise process. All right, guys. So here's a PCR cycle. Number one, observe. Like, notice behaviors worth reinforcing or refining. That's really awareness. Next is praise. Deliver precise, authentic appreciation in public. Right, you're building trust. Then, if you notice there's some behavior that needs to be improved, you offer clear behavior-based feedback. You ask them for their permission before you do so. You do this in private, and this helps them improve and grow. Kaizen, constant never-ending improvement. And then reframe, right? You may want to end with, again, another praise, end with optimism or future focus. Hey, you're really getting it. I can't wait to see where this is going to turn out in the next 3 weeks. Honestly, praise expands identity, criticism improves behavior. And when you get this balance right, you just don't improve people, you transform them. Okay? So that is the PCR ratio. Now let's talk about this new concept called JOMO, JOMO, and this is opposite of FOMO, FOMO, right? JOMO stands for the joy of missing out. This is really where you feel content staying in, and disconnecting as a form of self-care. And obviously the antonym is FOMO, fear of missing out. So many people in this Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat world, we are always seeing things. We want to be involved in things. We're like, and if we're not invited, it feels like a slight on our social status. But really, what needs to happen is you need to start not saying yes to everything, right? If you say yes to everything, then you're saying no to your major goals in life because your energy is being diffused, your vital energy. What I'd recommend is perhaps, and this is what I found helpful for my own life, is I'm starting to say no to a lot of things. And unless it's a hell yes, I don't mind saying no. And I will miss out on a Halloween party. I will miss out on a social gathering. I will miss out maybe on all the steps of a wedding. But if it's not critical, mission critical, if it's not going to make me feel happy and joyful, if I'm not really excited to see the people I'm going to go there to see, then it's okay to spend a quiet evening at home reading a book, meditating, going to a spa, hanging out with my kids, going to work out. Something else that gives me joy, happiness, freedom, peace. That and I feel like I'm gaining versus I'm subtracting, right? So instead of always thinking about FOMO, the fear of missing out, consider JOMO, the joy of missing out. That's also as equally as important. And along those same lines, let's talk about extreme self-care. If you're going through a turbulent time in life, if you're going through challenges and hurdles and obstacles and a lot of friction, what I suggest is consider doing radical self-care or extreme self-care. This is really like where you're really focusing on yourself. You're sleeping on time every day. You're eating clean food. You're working out like a beast. You're meditating. You're journaling. When you do all these things, you have resilience. You have capacity. You could analyze your life and give it perspective. You know you're just going through a season of toughness, that you're going to get through it on the other side. And realize this, you have 100% success rate of surviving horrible, tough, disastrous days. You've survived every single one of them. So know that you're going to survive this too. And honestly, it's never as worse than we think it is, right? Sometimes it is as good as we think it is, but usually it's never as worse than we think it is. So have those perspectives, right? This too shall pass. The best is yet to come. Two of my favorite quotes that sometimes get me through trying times. So I hope those frameworks were helpful to you, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Limitless MD. If you found value from this episode, I encourage you to share this episode with a friend and let me know by leaving a review. For more information, make sure you check out the links in the show notes below or simply visit vikramraya.com. Until next time, be phenomenal.